Fame is often linked to intelligence, discipline, and grit, but the spotlight has a way of hiding some hard truths. At the height of success, when money, power, and praise are flowing non-stop, not everyone lives up to the image they sell. Some names were once hailed as icons of brilliance and talent, symbols of an entire generation, yet behind the scenes, they made mistakes so shockingly foolish they left crews and insiders stunned. Lines forgotten in the middle of crucial scenes. Basic blocking botched. Even confusion over the very role they were supposed to play. Others torpedoed their own credibility with a single careless, boneheaded interview answer, instantly turning themselves into a punchline. These aren't stories of glamour or glory, they're moments of pure embarrassment, the kind the people involved probably wish they could wipe from history. So buckle up as we dive into 9 famous names and 9 jaw-dropping chains of unbelievably stupid decisions. Stepin Fetchit. Stepin Fetchit. The comedy sensation who played dumb so convincingly that it ultimately destroyed his own career. Born Lincoln Perry, Stepin Fetchit became one of the most recognizable faces in 1930s Hollywood. His slow-talking, slack-jawed persona made audiences howl with laughter, filled theaters, and turned him into one of the first black performers to strike real commercial gold in American cinema. He wasn't just popular, he was rich, famous, and everywhere. Fetchit's rise peaked in the early 1930s, when studios treated him like a guaranteed hit. His exaggerated portrayals of a lazy, mumbling character sent box office numbers soaring. By 1934, during the filming of Judge Priest, his name alone could sell tickets. Hollywood didn't just want him to play the character on screen, they wanted him to live it too, blurring the line between performance and reality. That decision would backfire spectacularly. On set, tension often hung thick in the air, especially under director John Ford, a legend known for his explosive temper, brutal efficiency, and zero tolerance for delays. During one simple scene, Ford instructed Fetchit to run from point A to point B as if escaping danger. Cameras rolled. Lights blazed. The crew waited. Fetchit didn't move. Minutes passed, 2, 5, then 10. He stood slouched, eyes half closed, as if dozing off mid-scene. No one dared speak. Shoes shuffled. Watches were checked. After 15 agonizing minutes, Ford finally erupted, shouting for Fetchit to run. Now, everyone expected Fetchit to snap into action and end the madness. Instead, he calmly drawled that he was already running, just in his head, very fast. The set fell dead silent. It was funny and deeply unsettling. Ford realized this wasn't forgetfulness, it was performance sabotage. Fetchit hadn't broken character, he'd weaponized it. The scene dragged on for hours. Desperate, the crew tied a rope around his feet and yanked him forward when the camera rolled. A moment meant to take minutes turned into an all-day circus. The truth was, Fetchit wasn't stupid at all. He was clever, too clever. He used the act to dodge difficult scenes, slow productions, and forced concessions. But he pushed it too far. The character stopped at the camera's edge for everyone else, except him. He carried it into real life, using fake ignorance as a shield against responsibility. By October 1938, things fully unraveled. At a press conference for In Old Kentucky, reporters asked basic questions about his role and personal views. Fetchit responded by scratching his head, mumbling that he was too lazy to think, claiming he didn't understand anything. Every answer was the same: nonsense, evasion, and silence. Eventually, reporters gave up and walked out, bored and irritated. At first, the act still paid. He remained famous. The roles kept coming. The money flowed. But something darker was brewing. The black community began to turn on him, viewing his persona as humiliating and harmful, a caricature that reinforced racist stereotypes. The backlash spread quickly, then exploded. Boycotts followed. And almost overnight, Fetchit's career collapsed. Roles vanished. Contracts evaporated. Worse still, the fortune he earned disappeared just as fast. He bought 12 cars, spent recklessly, and made no plan for the future. The irony was brutal. A man who pretended to be lazy but worked tirelessly at destroying his own life. Perhaps he believed the act would protect him forever, that Hollywood would always need Stepin Fetchit. But times change. Audiences grow tired. What once drew laughter became unbearable. His downfall wasn't one mistake, it was a chain reaction of terrible decisions, dragging the act too far on set, turning press events into farces, and spending as if fame were permanent. When the lights finally went out, all that remained was a cautionary tale of a man who drowned himself in a role so ridiculous that it erased everything else he was. Hattie McDaniel. Hattie McDaniel, the first Black Oscar queen, who also drove studio nerves to the edge by forgetting lines and mistaking blazing set lights for the rising sun. Hattie McDaniel was a fixture of classic Hollywood, a rare black singer and actress who climbed to extraordinary heights in an industry built to keep her out. Her legacy was sealed with Mammy in Gone with the Wind, making her the first black person to win an Academy Award, an achievement that shook Hollywood. But behind the glamour, the 1939 production was pure pressure. As filming intensified, the set felt like a furnace, lights glaring like daylight, cameras rolling without mercy, everyone knowing this was the studio's make-or-break epic. Hattie stood at the center, embodying Mammy, tough, sharp-tongued, commanding enough to silence a room. Yet beneath that iron presence lay a quiet struggle. She'd learned to sing young, with little formal schooling, and reading scripts wasn't easy. This screenplay was unforgiving. In one scene, Mammy scolds Scarlett with 8 lines back-to-back, no pause. For most actors, routine. For Hattie, a wall. She'd start strong, 3 lines crisp and powerful, then freeze on the 4th. The rhythm broke. Cameras stopped. The crew sighed. Hattie glanced at her assistant, murmuring that she'd mixed up the speech, thought it was a different scolding altogether. Take after take collapsed. Time crawled. After 15 failed attempts, the crew improvised a fix, a cue system right on set. An assistant crouched low, whispering lines. Hattie listened and repeated, steady as a wound-up record player. The scene wrapped, but the damage lingered, schedule blown, budget swelling. The mishaps didn't end there. During a nighttime outdoor shoot, floodlights burned hot and bright. Hattie stepped out, stared into the glow, and stopped cold, convinced the sun was rising early. She refused to continue, insisting it was daylight and too hot to work. Director Victor Fleming laughed, unable to help himself, as the crew took minutes to calm the buzz and explain it was only set lights, not dawn. Funny. Nerve-wracking, absolutely. The schedule doubled. Whispers spread that Hattie was slowing the biggest film of the decade. But when the movie premiered, every complaint vanished. Her Mammy was so alive, so human, audiences were spellbound. The moment peaked when Hattie took the Oscar stage, history made, Hollywood forced to reconsider itself. Yet offstage, Hattie knew her limits better than anyone. Long, complex roles terrified her. The fear that her mind wouldn't keep pace followed her like a shadow. Slowly, her choices narrowed. She leaned into safer parts, fewer lines, familiar beats, the loud, scolding woman audiences expected. Each role felt secure, but each was a step back as the industry moved on. Tastes changed. Hattie stayed trapped in a comfort zone she'd built to survive. The pressure, fatigue, and sense of being boxed in took a toll on her health. Maybe if she'd faced those fears head-on, pushed past the early limits, her path might have shifted. But history has no room for what-ifs. At her brightest moment, she touched the top and quietly tied herself down with caution and doubt. The Oscar glow couldn't break that loop. And so, beneath the thunderous applause of 1939, the quiet tragedy of Hattie McDaniel's later career had already begun, stretching silently toward her final years. Butterfly McQueen. Butterfly McQueen, a global star undone by a role that never let her escape. To the world, she was Prissy from Gone with the Wind, the squeaky-voiced, jittery girl whose panic made audiences laugh and ache at the same time. That timid image catapulted her to instant fame in 1939, turning her into one of classic Hollywood's most recognizable faces almost overnight. On screen, Prissy was frightened, frantic, and clueless, forever flustered under pressure. Off-screen, Butterfly was nothing like the caricature audiences adored. She was perceptive, deeply intuitive as an actress, but her education had been cut short early in life. Reading dense scripts was exhausting, complicated further by mild vision problems. Pages of dialogue felt like a maze. Instead of memorizing words, she relied on instinct, rhythm, and muscle memory, and when everything aligned, she delivered magic. But when one element slipped, the cracks showed. The most infamous moment came during the Atlanta burning scene. Artificial smoke filled the stage. Red lights mimicked roaring flames. Extras screamed. The script was simple: run straight past the camera. Yet when the cameras rolled, Butterfly panicked for real. She sprinted, spun, doubled back, and ran in frantic circles as if trapped in an invisible storm. The blocking collapsed instantly. Director Victor Fleming called cut. Again and again. Take after take, the same chaos. Her terror looked authentic, too authentic, but she never hit her mark. Frustration spread across the set. Finally, Fleming tried something radical, a strip of red tape laid straight across the floor. Just follow the line. Butterfly studied it, nodded solemnly. But inside, doubt swarmed. What if the tape led her out of frame? What if she ruined the shot again? That hesitation sank the next take. Laughter erupted, half amused, half helpless. It took 15 takes to finish the scene, and the story followed her long after the set went dark. Then came a 1940 press interview. Butterfly prepared meticulously, memorizing 4 answers and delivering them flawlessly. Everything went smoothly, until one reporter asked an unscripted question about Atlanta. Drawing from her recent experience, she answered honestly, referring to it only as the set where she'd spent days running through smoke. The press pounced. Headlines mocked her. The line between Prissy and Butterfly vanished. The public decided she wasn't acting dumb, she was dumb. That label stuck. Producers grew cautious. Complex, intelligent roles quietly disappeared. Butterfly felt it immediately. Fear crept in. Fear of forgetting lines, losing rhythm, repeating past humiliations. She began choosing simpler parts. Then fewer. Eventually, none at all. Maybe if she'd shattered the Prissy image early, her story would have ended differently. But Hollywood wasn't forgiving. A handful of awkward moments, harmless mistakes, swallowed an entire career. In her later years, Butterfly lived quietly, humbly, at times working as a maid just to survive. A cruel loop where fiction bled into reality. No one expected that at the very height of her fame, a few uncontrolled moments would be enough to send a rising star slowly slipping into silence. Eddie Anderson. Eddie Rochester Anderson was a radio comedy legend, and a walking nerve test for every crew that worked with him. Famous for forgetting his lines, his cues, and once even his own character's name live on air, Eddie had a rare talent for turning chaos into comedy. As one of the most recognizable voices on the Jack Benny program, Anderson became one of the most iconic side characters in entertainment history. For decades, Rochester, the sharp-tongued yet absent-minded valet, was essential to keeping the show at the top of radio's golden age. In the 1940s, when radio ruled American homes, Eddie Anderson was exactly where he needed to be. On air, Rochester's forgetfulness was carefully scripted, every stumble engineered for laughs. Off air, however, the confusion was very real. Eddie had a reputation that made producers sweat. He was chronically late. Not 5 minutes late, sometimes missing call time entirely. There were days when the studio was ready to go live and Eddie's chair was still empty. Jack Benny eventually laid down the law. Every late arrival cost Eddie $50. That was serious money at the time. It still didn't fix the problem. His forgetfulness reached its peak during a live broadcast at the end of 1945. No retakes. A packed studio. Tension in the air. Eddie stepped into the spotlight, began his routine, and suddenly froze. His mind went blank. In the middle of the show, he couldn't remember who he was supposed to be. Rochester vanished from his memory, replaced by sheer panic. What could have been a career-ending disaster became radio magic. Jack Benny improvised instantly, turning Eddie's mental shutdown into one of the biggest laughs of the night. The audience roared. On air, Eddie seemed like the perfect embodiment of his scatterbrained character. Off air, the production team was drenched in cold sweat, fully aware of how close they had come to catastrophe. The chaos followed Eddie beyond the studio. While touring to entertain U.S. troops during World War II, he brought much-needed laughter to exhausted soldiers. But even then, his absent-mindedness refused to take a break. At one show, Eddie walked onto a dark stage having forgotten the most important tool of all, the microphone. With no sound system and no spotlight, he had to shout his lines into the darkness just to prove he was there. The scene was frantic, ridiculous, and unforgettable. The soldiers loved it. Over time, Eddie Anderson's reputation became fixed. Always late. Always forgetting something. What started as a flaw slowly turned into his brand. Audiences groaned, but leaned in, knowing that any mistake might explode into comedy gold. Eddie possessed a rare gift, the ability to transform genuine blunders into moments no writer could ever script. That gift carried him through a remarkable 28-year run in one of the most ruthless industries imaginable. But it came with a cost. Eddie had a short fuse and little patience. He argued openly with Jack Benny over scripts and character direction. The disagreements were never public scandals, but they left a mark. Gradually, Eddie's role shrank. Rochester remained, but only as the quick-hit punchline, popping in for laughs and disappearing again. No growth. No expansion. In the end, Eddie Anderson's real-life habits quietly trapped him in sidekick territory. His forgetfulness fueled his fame, while his temperament limited his future. History doesn't deal in what-ifs, but the paradox remains striking. Eddie became a legend through disorder, forgetting times, names, even microphones. Those astonishingly careless moments made millions laugh, and at the same time, placed an invisible ceiling over a career that might have gone even further. A comic icon, powered by chaos, and quietly confined by it. Dorothy Dandridge. Hollywood's intoxicating goddess, radiant, alluring, unforgettable, yet quietly unraveling beneath the heat of the spotlight as panic crept in and opera lyrics slipped from her grasp. In the 1950s, Dorothy Dandridge stood as a rare phenomenon. A black singer-actress who broke barriers and dazzled critics with a smart, sexy, modern presence that felt years ahead of its time. By 1954, with Carmen Jones igniting massive hype, Dorothy was at her absolute peak. Her face covered posters, the press crowned her a new queen, and every appearance shimmered with promise. On promotional stages, lights wrapped around her slender frame, her voice hypnotic, her confidence seemingly unshakable. But behind the scenes, the reality was far more chaotic. Dorothy was raised on music and movement. Sound and rhythm came naturally. Words did not. Long scripts were torment, and reading heavy scenes became a quiet battle throughout filming. Carmen Jones demanded complex operatic lines filled with layered meanings and constant shifts. Each scene began with confidence, but seconds in, her memory would falter. Lyrics vanished mid-performance. Takes stopped. Crews waited. Cameras idled. The lights continued to blaze as Dorothy froze, caught between fragments of melody and meaning. The confusion wasn't performance, it was painfully real. Director Otto Preminger recognized the problem and improvised. Phonetic systems were created. Instead of words, assistants wrote lyrics as sounds. Simple, musical cues drilled like exercises. Dorothy stood under the lights, repeating rhythms again and again. Some scenes required 30, even 40 takes before voice and melody finally aligned. Time stretched. Budget swelled. And the struggle went far beyond memorization. The set itself unsettled her. The lights felt blinding, overwhelming. Crews scrambled repeatedly to adjust them, gently reminding her to focus on the camera, not the glare above. Yet her eyes kept drifting upward. Stories of these moments spread quietly among the crew. Some felt compassion, others frustration. Still, when everything clicked, Dorothy was undeniable. On screen, Carmen Jones came alive. Captivating. Electric. No one watching could sense the sweat, the stops, the pressure simmering behind each polished frame. The film succeeded. Praise poured in. Her name echoed through Hollywood conversations. But beneath the applause, fear took root. Dorothy knew her limits. Long dialogue and psychological depth felt like looming threats. Emotionally reactive, she trusted instinct over endurance, and instinct told her to retreat. She began turning down complex roles, avoiding characters that demanded heavy dialogue and layered psychology. At first, it felt safe. Then the offers slowed. Hollywood doesn't pause. While Dorothy hesitated, others surged forward. Her career slipped quietly, almost unnoticed at first. Big projects disappeared. Headlines moved on. Income wavered, but her spending remained anchored to her peak. Pressure mounted. Her world narrowed. In hindsight, perhaps patience, with scripts, with herself, might have altered her path. But Hollywood is unforgiving. Small moments, missed lyrics, discomfort under lights, visible anxiety, slowly shaped an image of instability. Dorothy Dandridge's story became a classic Hollywood tragedy. A star at her brightest, still dazzling, yet standing on fractured ground. Those seemingly minor missteps never erased her beauty or talent, but they were enough to knock a luminous star off course, leaving behind brilliance, heartbreak, and a lonely fall into obscurity. Lena Horne. Lena Horne, MGM's dazzling siren who could stop a room cold, yet somehow turn polished movie sets into quiet farces. In classic Hollywood, she was the very definition of seduction, a voice that melted audiences, a presence that glowed inside MGM's glossy frames, rising fast on elegance, rhythm, and undeniable magnetism. Her golden era arrived swiftly and cruelly ironic. When Cabin in the Sky premiered in 1943, Lena exploded into stardom as Georgia Brown. Bathed in twinkling lights, eyes half dreamy, half daring, she moved with a slow, intoxicating confidence that silenced entire theaters. To the public, she looked born for the camera. Behind it, a far more fragile reality waited. Unlike many of her peers, Lena lacked formal training. By 16, she'd already been shaped by smoky jazz clubs, learning music by ear, by feel, by instinct. Rhythm came naturally, rigid scripts did not. Once she entered MGM's unforgiving studio system, that gap became impossible to hide. In scenes demanding strict memorization, her confidence wavered, eyes flicking, lips hesitating, as if scanning invisible words mid-air. One infamous moment sealed her reputation. The sultry, "Ain't It the Truth" number, later cut for being too provocative, was meant to be her triumphant showcase. Instead, it unraveled into chaos. Rather than hitting her marks, Lena drifted across the floor like she was back in a cramped jazz club, following the beat instead of the camera. Frames were missed. Lighting collapsed. Frustration filled the room. Director Vincente Minnelli, legendary for his perfectionism, resorted to a surreal solution: colored tape on the floor. Red arrow, stand still 5 seconds. Blue arrow, step forward. The crew struggled not to laugh as Lena crouched to study the floor like a roadmap. When she earnestly asked if following the blue arrow might throw her off camera, the set erupted. Funniest, but disastrous. The scene took nearly 20 retakes. Patience wore thin. Whispers spread. And the problems didn't stop there. In interviews, Lena protected herself by memorizing 5 safe answers: music, performance, audience connection, delivered smoothly, like a polished record. But stray off script, and things unraveled fast. Once, asked about European geography, she confidently placed London in France, because it sounded like Paris. Harmless, yet the press pounced. The mistake became a running joke, slowly stitching together an image that haunted her, breathtakingly seductive, but dangerously unprepared. A star driven by instinct rather than discipline. Studios grew cautious. Complex roles were quietly passed over. One misstep, they feared, could derail an entire scene. So Lena was boxed into brief musical appearances, brilliant flashes, then gone. On paper, she remained an MGM star. In reality, her film career shrank year by year, the golden era transforming into an invisible cage. Yet her story didn't end in failure. Music was her true kingdom. On stage, there were no color-coded arrows, no endless scripts, only instinct, voice, and soul. That raw talent carried her for decades, even as Hollywood's grand cinematic promise slipped away. Lena Horne stands as one of classic Hollywood's most haunting paradoxes, proof that a few missteps at the peak can quietly redirect a destiny that once seemed limitless. Pearl Bailey. Pearl Bailey was Broadway's dazzling comedy queen, an electrifying performer who could stop a show cold, sometimes for reasons no one expected. To the public, she was a familiar face on Broadway and American screens, a razor-sharp wit with an exuberant voice that lit up Carmen Jones and left laughter and applause trailing behind her on every major stage. When Carmen Jones premiered in 1954, Pearl's name loomed large on the posters. She projected the image of total command, a clever, fearless comic empress who could rule an audience with a single raised eyebrow. But behind the curtain, a very different story unfolded. Lyrics didn't always come easily to her. Pearl had learned to sing by feel, by rhythm, by instinct, not by reading music, so memorizing long passages was like navigating with a half-finished map. Under blistering stage lights and endless rehearsals, the cracks sometimes showed. Pearl would flip through lyrics, confusion flickering across her face. In the middle of a smooth number, she might suddenly freeze, music rolling on, voice gone silent, as if unplugged. The crew would sigh. But instead of panicking, Pearl did what she did best. She turned the mistake into comedy, twisting the moment into something that felt deliberate and hilarious. The audience roared. Tension evaporated. Yet backstage, another note was added to the director's growing list of concerns. By the early 1950s, live Broadway performances made her forgotten lines impossible to hide. On April 8, 1953, during a rising musical number, she stopped cold and searched the orchestra pit for help, pulling the entire theater into an awkward pause. The audience loved it. Professionals backstage did not. Her charm saved the show, but it also branded her as a performer relying on improvisation to cover a fragile memory. To keep productions running, creative systems were invented. Songs weren't remembered by lyrics, but by emotions, coded in colors. Red meant passion, blue meant sadness, like traffic lights guiding her through each number. Pearl sang by color, moved by rhythm, and the show survived on a carefully patched system held together by timing and luck. The pattern followed her into the 1960s on European tours. While crews buzzed with excitement over iconic cities, Pearl mixed up famous landmarks and names, creating stories that were funny, awkward, and quietly alarming. People laughed it off, but worry lingered. Assistants stayed close, just in case. Tensions flared in rehearsals, not from a lack of passion, but from deepening insecurity. Pearl gravitated toward shorter, safer numbers where improvisation could hide the gaps. Big, complex dramatic roles slipped away. Yet audiences kept coming. They didn't come for perfection. They came for Pearl Bailey, for the intimacy, the spontaneity, the feeling that anything could happen. Those imperfections slowed her climb, but they forged something rare. Pearl Bailey didn't become a heavyweight dramatic star, but she endured under the spotlight, surviving on instinct, flexibility, and the uncanny ability to turn mistakes into magic. That was both the cost and the reward of a career balanced between brilliance and beautiful chaos. Sammy Davis Jr., the Rat Pack's lightning-fast prodigy, was a once-in-a-generation entertainer who could sing, dance, act, and command a room like few others. He moved as if born under spotlights, sharing stages with giants and carving his place as an essential force in American entertainment. When Anna Lucasta premiered in 1958, his name exploded, cementing him as a true all-around star. On stage and on screen, Sammy spun, glided, and delivered velvet-smooth vocals with effortless charm. To the public, it looked flawless. Behind the curtain, it wasn't. Long film shoots quickly revealed cracks. Crew members noticed the instability, missed cues, forgotten dialogue, mixed-up character names, scenes derailed by lost sequences. Sammy would enter a frame confident, then suddenly freeze, standing still for long, painful moments as if waking up in a strange place. The set would go silent. Lights burned. Cameras rolled. Directors scrambled. Lines were hidden everywhere. Slips of paper in pockets, behind props, taped beneath tables, anything to keep scenes alive. Sometimes it worked. Other times, he rushed through dialogue, skipped ideas, or stopped mid-expression, his face blank, as if every word had vanished at once. The problem followed him everywhere. During grueling army tours in the early 1950s, Sammy performed on makeshift stages before exhausted soldiers. On June 8, 1952, a show derailed minutes after the music began. His microphone was dead. Sammy danced and sang at full force, but no sound came out. Only footsteps and heavy breathing filled the night air. The crowd froze, then laughed as they realized what had happened. Instead of retreating, Sammy doubled down, performing even harder, as if sheer energy could replace sound. Stories like that spread fast through show business. Soon, the jokes followed, half teasing, half truth, about Sammy forgetting this, missing that. Audiences found it oddly endearing. His unpredictability made every appearance feel alive. But behind the laughter came quiet consequences. Producers avoided complex roles and long scripts. He was cast in shorter parts, safer performances, work that didn't rely on heavy memorization. Standing beside the Rat Pack, men known for iron discipline, the contrast was stark. Broadway talk stalled. Projects faded. The pressure to remember, to stay perfectly in rhythm, pushed Sammy away. Alcohol crept in, easing anxiety for a moment but creating new tensions, even straining his bond with Frank Sinatra. Big opportunities slipped by without headlines or explanations. Looking back decades later, the paradox becomes clear. What once seemed like clumsiness, forgotten lines, missed props, lost beats, was also the source of Sammy Davis Jr.'s magic. He was an instinctive artist, performing on pure reflex and emotion, unchained from rigid words. He never dominated the heaviest roles, but he endured longer than many who did. His career was long, winding, and unpredictable, always leaving laughter in its wake. That was the price and the reward of a prodigy forever dancing just ahead of his own memory. Esther Rolle, the Golden Age. A legend of classic television, yet one who could bring an entire set to a standstill, frozen by forgotten lines and stitched together audio like a skipping vinyl record. To millions of viewers, Esther Rolle was Florida Evans on Good Times, the embodiment of strength, morality, and unshakable motherhood. She wasn't just a character, she was a cultural anchor of 1970s America. When Good Times premiered in 1974, Rolle had reached what many called her prime. On screen, Florida Evans spoke with precision and authority. Every word landed with purpose. But behind the scenes, maintaining that image came at a steep cost. Esther quietly battled long stretches of dialogue. Limited early education and a background with little exposure to extensive reading left her struggling with mild dyslexia. Dense scripts became a maze she had to navigate daily. The deeper the show went, the harder it became. One pivotal scene, a heated family argument meant to anchor the episode emotionally, brought everything to a halt. Cameras rolled, lights blazed, and then nothing. Esther turned away, her lines evaporating mid-moment. Silence filled the set. She tried to recover, piecing together fragments of thought, but the words refused to return. Take after take collapsed. Time dragged. Tension thickened the air. Eventually, the director adjusted course. An assistant rewrote Esther's dialogue phonetically. Sound, not text, became her lifeline. She memorized rhythm and cadence, assembling each sentence like mechanical parts. From that point on, audio recordings followed her everywhere. Lines weren't learned by meaning, but by repetition and tone. The performances improved, but production slowed, and the strain on the crew grew heavier. Scenes that once took hours now took days. Patience wore thin, yet no one questioned her importance. When everything finally aligned, Esther's performances were undeniable. In interviews, she stuck to carefully rehearsed answers. Controlled. Any unscripted question risked derailment. Once, when asked about her family life, she drifted unexpectedly into stories of European travel. Confusing, disconnected, and unsettling to watch. Those moments circulated quietly, shaping a new public image. Commanding on screen, hesitant off it. The label stuck. When producers began offering more layered, demanding roles, Esther pulled back. Long scripts felt like walls she couldn't climb. Fear of exposure, of forgetting, crept into every negotiation. Tensions rose. Conflicts escalated. It was no longer just about creative direction, but about limits she refused to openly confront. By the late 1970s, the fracture was impossible to ignore. Esther Rolle's early step away from her peak divided opinion. Some called it courageous. Others saw it as inevitable after too many on-set struggles. Still, Florida Evans endured. The character outlived the chaos behind the camera. Esther's raw talent had carried her further than many expected, but those hidden missteps quietly redirected her future. She didn't fall, but she couldn't move forward. Even at the top, not every legend is as flawless as they appear. If this story made you see your idols differently, leave a comment below. Which story moved you the most? Do you know another star who faced similar struggles? Share it with us. And don't forget to subscribe, because in our upcoming videos, we'll keep peeling back the glamour to reveal the truths celebrities never wanted you to see.